Welcome, comrades, and welcome to a new episode of Heroes and Generals Devstream, live from Copenhagen. This is episode 24. Today we will be talking about the new update that just hit the servers, Timoshenko. And it's been an eventful week for our servers. Well, it's not just we run into some bugs, but also there were some work that was done to expand our server capacity. That was done yesterday. We added 2 more action host servers, so that means we can have more battles running at the same time. But as for the other bugs, I guess we can talk about it a little bit. We had something that caused the action games to be a little bit overpopulated.
Like, by the way, hi.
Hi.
We should talk a little bit about the what has happened since we launched the.
What changed?
And obviously we added the third faction, and we sort of like had to kickstart it a little bit. I'd say. We had some issues with because the Soviets weren't really enough on the campaign map to give the Americans and Germans any serious opposition, which made it very easy for one of them to actually win the war. We saw that Germany actually started out by winning a lot. And then it sort of like seems like then the Americans just got it, and then they started to win some of the wars. And then we did some changes to sort of like to boost the Soviets a little bit, because all we need is for the Soviets to pose actually a minor annoyance for the 2 other factions in order to keep the war going. Our main problem was in the beginning that the
wars ended.
The wars ended after 2 hours, and it just kept resetting. And
that's some of you who have encountered all these annoyances where you couldn't log in, or everything was slow, was because the war had to restart, and that means everybody had to log in again.
And people who were just playing stage missions were affected by it as well. So it's not really good that the war was so quick. So we knew we had to do something where we didn't have to sort of like make these, and I don't think we would ever do that. Like the Soviets would just be a faction equal the other 2 factions in the beginning. That's up to the players to actually build and expand the faction into a serious competitor. But we need to have the starting point big enough for them to not be completely steamrolled. But it's 2 different scenarios. First one, we would like to stop the, the constant resetting of the servers, obviously.
But also, I guess what you were telling me yesterday, the players who switched over to the Russian Soviet side and who were used to tactics, strategy being I just move my stuff in one direction.
I think I'll show some of those things. Because the tactics or the strategy you have to use now as a strategy player has changed, and I think the players just need to get accustomed with the new rules. Actually, I'd say that
what you said is like sometimes it's better to sit on a capital rather than just move everything you got at the enemy. And
but actually, what we did in here was that as Soviet players might have noticed that a lot of retail accounts have popped up in the campaign game. So we're actually playing along, most of us as Soviets, and we are gonna play the Soviets as long as it actually takes to before they're powerful enough to do it on their own. Then we're gonna pull out. Then I think one of the first things we actually did was to add 3 more capitals to the Soviets, so they start up with 5 capitals. And the main reason for that was that some of the first wars, the Soviets, because they start up with guard teams and some of the slowest teams in the game, they didn't even reach the front line before the war was over, which means that they're not earning any XP, so they can't progress on the assault teams. And that was like that was just a major problem. So we moved the starting capitals closer to the German borders in order for them to actually see some action before they were knocked out. That did something. We had, I think, in the first few wars that lasted about 2 hours, and then we had one that lasted like 3 and one at 4 hours. So it was sort of like changing a little bit, but definitely not enough. What we then did was we did several minor adjustments. Obviously, the most known one is the one where we did it. We ran a discount on Soviet generals and officers just in order to give the players a chance to field more assault teams. That has actually helped a lot. You can see on the numbers that we will show you later that it actually helped a lot just to run the actual discount. Then we have temporarily increased the number of resources that each Soviet assault team can carry, which is something that is not permanent. That will be removed again once the game starts rolling. You can say that the actual strategy games is very much dependent on actual resources and not assault teams as much. It's the resources that the assault teams carry that actually is matched up against each other. So by allowing the Soviet assault teams to carry 50% more resources, that in effect is the same as adding 50% more assault teams.
So when you get to a battle, you start out with more lives.
Yeah,
basically.
Yes.
That's
okay. That compensates for the lesser amount of Soviet assault teams. But we can see that as time goes, there's more and more Soviet assault teams, and obviously we're going to turn that number down again when it starts to even out more with the other two factions. So it's not a permanent solution. We will remove it again. I saw some people in the chats and in the forum going, "Oh, what the fuck is this? More Russians, it's unfair, unbalanced, bro." It is, we know it, but we're still in the process of getting the Soviets up to speed. It has never been the purpose to introduce a new faction that can instantly win the war. I think that is up to the players to build the Soviet army to a strength where they can start to win the war. That will take time. They will need to get organized into. We don't have any. I don't think we have any Soviet clans at all. I don't know. Maybe we don't.
Not yet. I don't think. It's only starting to appear.
So the players actually they need to get organized as well.
We got the stats of. I don't know if this is just the war missions or it's also the staged battles.
These are here. I can show them.
We should look at that later.
Screen. Yeah.
Because people are asking though already. Can you explain why the Soviets are winning? The majority of staged battles, and that I think could be many factors. Really, it's a mystery to me. But
did we finish up the talk about what we did of changes?
We didn't. So let's go back to. We'll go back to that later. Yeah.
You can see. Maybe we should switch here to the campaign map. I'm sorry that it's night, so it's probably hard to see what's going on.
Actually, that's day.
This one?
This is day.
No.
The blue one is night. This is
not day.
This is not day?
No.
So blue is day?
Blue is night. This is either dusk or dawn. I think it's dawn, actually. So it might be...
Yeah. Let's move on to...
Interesting enough, the Soviets seems to have been holding on to 6 capitals now for nearly 2 days, 1.5 day, 2 days, which is pretty amazing. To me it proves at least that the Soviets are now strong enough to not just get rolled over, and they play they don't have any chance of winning the game yet. The war, but they are having they can play the annoying part in who of the other two factions win, which make them sort of powerful right now. They can actually they would be able to, how they play out their strategy could affect which one of the other two actually wins. And that's just, like I said, that's the whole the concept of 3 factions. Obviously, we don't know if this war is one of those that's just going to go on forever and ever. That's going to be interesting to see, but I can safely say that our changes at least ensured that the servers are not constantly restarting.
because that had like several nasty side effects, and
exactly. And you can see that we actually also lowered the production rate slightly. I think about 20%.
Yeah, that's one of
for the resources, which is slightly annoying for the Soviets, for the Americans and the Germans. We are going to turn up the resource production again, but it's all a matter of bringing the amount of active resources on the campaign map more in line, more in sync, before we start to roll back all these changes. We will gradually roll them back as long as we can see the whole thing moves. Right now you can see that there's no, I don't think there's only light armor, Soviet light armor fighting, but I can see that several of them are fairly close to being able to upgrade to medium armor, and as soon as they are ready to upgrade, you can see that there's
a stockpile.
There's a huge stockpile waiting to get used for the Soviets.
Right.
So the first one to convert to tank destroyer and to medium armor will
they will not have any waiting.
They will have no waiting time.
Yeah. But actually,
and they will, in effect, they will take some pressure off the light tanks as well. So, and we have discussed if we should just bump some of them in level, but right now I think it's better to actually have there's some guys out there who's actually been playing a lot, who's been progressing a lot, and I wouldn't take it away from them to actually have I'm the first to upgrade my assault teams for the Soviets.
If I can interrupt you, the chat really wants to know why do the Soviets win so many stage battles, and actually Splixen has his own explanation for that he just told me. Is because the characters are new. A lot of them, the majority of them, are riflemen. So it's mostly infantry. So they mostly
there's another thing also.
They mostly go for the objectives. Instead of flying around,
but there's another thing as well that we could see is it seems like there's a lot of our seasoned or old players who knows how the game plays and everything, know the rules of the game, that switch to the Soviets. So there's a large majority of very skilled players on the Soviet faction right now, and they actually win because they're better than the others. So that's because it's a fairly big difference between the two factions, or between the three factions, in winning of the. I think we can show this. Not this one. Is it this one I have here?
Yeah. So maybe can you full screen it?
I don't know if you can full screen this one.
Yes, you can.
Yes, I can. These are the. This is the stage missions, and this is the.
But this is not the winners. It's just.
That's
it's who versus who, how many times they fought, basically.
Yeah, we have them down here. The Soviets.
So it's how many times they win when they're defender. How many times they win when they're. Wait, that must be the skirmishes.
This is a different one that I just saw before, so I have absolutely no idea what this is.
Maybe.
People can read this stuff anyway, so let's just move on and say that they actually. It does look like
Robotron says that it's really hard to see anyway with that font size exactly, on a smaller screen.
We showed you a spreadsheet and you can't make out anything of it. That's awesome.
Behold, the spreadsheet. I
can actually show this one. Yep. Assault teams over time.
Yes, that one.
This one is probably better to show. This graph up here that shows the number of moving assault teams per faction per hour, and you can see the first part of the graph. You have the yellow graph is the Soviets, and the blue and the red one are the Germans and the Americans, and you can see that it's all the way at the bottom. So they were vastly outnumbered, and then they actually still stay somewhat at the bottom. Then you have this huge spike is when we introduced the changes to the assault teams and the discount for the officers and everything, and you can see instantly you had a pop up where we had a lot more Soviet assault teams deployed. Still a lot more of the other two, but you can see as the war goes on, they are starting now to
merge,
sort of like correlate, to converge into something where they're more equal. So that's good to see. You can see there's also a lot more unique users joining the Soviet ranks. So it's, I think some of our changes actually work pretty well. So that's the explanation for the what was the question? Something about the
that's on the campaign map though. Yeah. But that's the explanation for why the wars don't restart all the time now.
Yes.
It's basically because now there is some Soviet presence on the campaign map.
And the next couple of days or weeks, how long it's going to take, we are going to closely monitor all these numbers, and when the time is right, we're going to revert some of the changes we made, like pull back Reto guys pulling out of the war and reducing the amount of resources per Soviet assault team and upping the production again, and just slowly getting the game state back to where it was when we introduced the Soviets, and hopefully they can stand on their own at that time. The thing is that with a three-way battle, I think the Soviets, or one of the factions, they just need to hold two capitals actually in order for the fight to be transferred between the two others, which is giving a really complex dynamic to the game.
I want to just answer somebody here.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I think we wanted to slowly get to...
It's actually also mean that we're going to, at some point, the Soviets will start with only two capitals again.
Because right now they have
five. They have five, and that was the main purpose of that was to make sure that they could sort of reach battle before they could get knocked out.
And you said that you among the changes you created choke points, right? Where there's only
no. That's actually part built into the map. So the Soviets can win a lot, or actually they can not win. They can defend a lot by moving assault teams to some of the choke points to defend.
That's something that you might eventually...
You see down here, the Crimean Peninsula, it's really hard to take because there's a choke point here.
Here and there, right?
Yeah,
in the middle here.
Maybe in the full screen. Yeah, you can see here. You can actually see now the Germans have actually broken through here and are starting to advance, but they'll face some problems down here as well at the entry to the peninsula, and again closer to Sevastopol they're going to face another choke point. So there's several choke points along the route to the capital, and that's actually true for most of the capitals. Is that there is sort of like narrow passages to some of to the capitals, and I think what this has shown is that our current strategy players are not really concerned about the defenses or like placing assault teams away from the front line, because everything it has been about just moving as fast as possible towards the front line, and that is not how the strategy has been. It has been the effect of a very, very simplistic way of implementing the strategy game so far. But right now, with this change, we are definitely moving in the direction that we want the game to be, like a real strategy game where you have to make some decisions. It's not about just moving your assault teams as quickly as possible to the front line. I think that we get into this discussion that we had yesterday about the differences between the game types. I'm really sorry that the game is the strategy game is called an RTS.
Yeah, I guess we should start, but we got into that discussion yesterday because we were wondering how to answer. There was this question that Kyrie626 asked us, I think 3 weeks ago, and we said we'll get back to that when Jakob is back from vacation. Yeah. And he was asking basically how come the war fund system.
That's not it.
No, well, that was it.
No.
But your answer was about that.
It wasn't.
Yeah,
Okay.
you were saying basically the guy's asking how come the war fund system doesn't basically give me enough of a return when I field expensive assault teams.
Yeah, but that's a bit. I'll get back to that answer.
But that is related.
You promised me to that I will answer it, so obviously I will answer it. But I would just like to first talk a little bit about the differences between the mistakes we make when we talk about the strategy game as being an RTS. The RTS is a game genre.
And when we say RTS, like just for people who real-time strategy,
real-time strategy, yeah. And it's a game genre that in its anatomy is more like an action game than an actual strategy game, because it involves a high degree of speed. If you take a game like StarCraft, which is an excellent game, I love playing that, but it's not really a strategy game. It's more like an action game. If you watch the competition in StarCraft, it's a lot about who can click the fastest and who have found the optimal clicking pattern, what to click first and what to not do.
So that you most efficiently get to the point where you win.
Exactly, and you just optimize that path. Especially in the opening game, they even put it into their tutorials that you have to produce 15 of these before you start to produce this one, because otherwise it will be ineffective and what not. So it's a lot about. It's more, maybe a bit of tactics, but generally those are more action games, and our game is a lot more slow paced. It's a lot more of thinking and planning and communicating with the other players about what should our strategy be. Should we go for this capital or this capital? Should we play aggressively? Should we play passively? What should we do? And so far the game hasn't really been complex enough to facilitate that kind of thinking, which has led to the perception that it's
RTS.
It's an RTS. Yeah. Now we're starting to implement some of the features that we've been planning for a long time to get into the game that will turn it into more like a strategy game. For example, the limited resources has a lot of strategy in it. Obviously, for the next major release, we have some more features that we need to add to the strategy game to even further facilitate you playing wisely and discussing with the other players of how should we do this. You can actually see that I think an hour ago or something, there was a good example of what I'm talking about. This where people just are getting used to just move all their assault teams towards the front line. You see, the Americans have made sort of like a pocket here where there seems to be trying to reach Berlin. Mm-hmm. I know they have been fighting for Bordeaux for like over a day.
That's Marseille.
Marseille, sorry, Bordeaux is over there. Fighting for Marseille for over 24 hours, and they finally got it. And when they captured Marseille, it seems like they just very quickly broke through to Rome. And there was it seems like one or two guys that apparently just felt lucky that they just broken through the German defenses, and it was just empty behind it. There was no assault teams placed in any of the sort of like the defensive choke points or the defensive positions in order to catch any rogue. He almost got all the way up to, you can see there's actually one battle going on in here.
So that's the result of one guy?
That is just a recon unit getting through from Rome and just going all the way up here and almost capturing Berlin on his own, because there was absolutely no defenses here. It was just void.
It's the dirty dozen.
Exactly. But I think that happens because the game so far there hasn't been any reason to ever do that. Why would you ever place your assault teams in the middle of nowhere? No. Move them to the front line. I want XP. I want this and this and this and this.
You want to be the first to reach the combat.
Yeah, I will promise you we will. Also, with the next upgrades we are going to do, it will be important to not go into battle all the time and think about what you do before you go into battle. At this point, I would say to the strategy players that a second line of defense might be a good idea from now on. And
you get this that is coming up the Balkans.
This is also the guys
a result of that, right?
They got pretty far because there was absolutely nothing down here. So you have to prepare for that. obviously it's a bit of a stretch to try and to just go from Rome to Berlin in one go. I think it was actually Warsaw they went for and not Berlin.
Yeah, that's Warsaw.
Yeah. Sorry, Berlin is over here. But he got almost up here, and that was the last capital they actually needed in order to win the war. So be careful. You need to think a little bit more on the defensive side. Also, another thing that has this effect is that we have limited resources on the maps, which means that we have a very crude production system that produces a certain amount of resources per, I think it's 10 minutes or something, which is instantly gobbled up by assault teams and then put into the front line. And people are complaining, I'm sitting in the queue. But hey, the resources are expensive stuff. It's not for you to just waste on an endless World War II tug of war type static battle. What you should know is that the amount of resources available in the campaign map still doesn't really have a limit. So think about what you do with your resources. If you want to make a push at some point for one of the capitals, it might be wise to leave some of your stronger units behind and only fend off the enemy by for example guard teams or infantry until you've built enough of an armor, a tank army to actually punch through somewhere to make a difference. And but that requires strategy, and that requires that the players agree on what they should do and then build the plan, because it's going to take maybe a day or two to build up enough units to be able to make that attack.
So before you go further, there's actually a general that takes the credit for the defeat. He says, Knife Shark says, I used to be the one who defended Marseille, but then I moved to the Soviets, so that's why they broke through.
Okay, so he's the one in charge of.
He was in charge of it.
Of Marseille, yeah. It's obviously again with players switching teams, that they have to sort of like reorganize and get the talking together up and going again. So, but I expect that the whole thing about the three factions and maybe making alliances. The Soviets are clearly underdogs right now. They make a difference. You could actually start to talk to one of the others and we're going to back you if you do this and this and this. I don't know. It's up to the players. It's not us to control that. But I think it's definitely very interesting to watch the war right now.
But if we get back to the question about why can't I field tons of heavy tanks and hope to make enough war funds to keep just feeding the battlefield with heavy tanks?
Yeah, I don't know where to start on that one.
It's a multi-faceted question. Really.
Yeah. Let's see, how much time do we have? A few hours?
Just broad outlines.
Yeah. First of all, in the bigger scope of the game, the war funds have been seen as a middle calculation. In Danish, you would say en mellemregning, but it's not something that's supposed to be. It's supposed to be the the number you exchange between different commodities.
So it's a currency.
Yeah, it's a currency, but
it's a currency between resources and
right now again it's
other resources.
It's very, very crude, so it has obviously the effect that you can only use it for assault teams and buying assault teams. We could actually just disable it completely and just have you push the button where you
spawn assault teams.
Yeah,
and,
but still,
wasn't it like that in the beginning?
No, in the beginning we actually made it so that it was very easy to win war funds, which had the unfortunate side effect that as soon as people apparently see that you can gain something by doing something simple, they instantly start to exploit it. So we had a lot of players who opened secondary accounts, third accounts, the fourth accounts, and 10 accounts, and just started farming war funds like crazy, building up a huge amount of war funds on those accounts, and in the same process ruining the game for everybody else. So we knew we had to do something with the war fund stuff, and that's where we decided to change the whole thing into a roughly zero-sum game, where you get something for you spend something and it's worth a thing. So it's the same war funds that circulates. Obviously that's not true when we talk about your veteran membership, because it actually gives you a bonus on your war funds. But to get back to the quick thing about the why can't I just field endless amounts of heavy tanks, because I cannot earn enough money on my expensive teams to use them all the time, and that's basically because the balance has been, the rough balance has been set up so you have to earn it's easier to earn war funds on the infantry units than it is on the tank units. Obviously the light tanks we've turned down the price very much, so they're very cheap as well, but we need to make sure that the powerful units are used rarely compared to the cheaper units, and that's why we have this balance. So if you want to make enough money on to field your heavy armor, you should definitely have a lot of infantry as well. Obviously the production queue will put a limit to this as well. That's also why we are, if you have noticed, we actually lowered a lot of those numbers lately and bringing them into line.
I think you wanted to talk about a little bit also what kind of the production system what was intended to evolve into a bit more?
Yeah. So right now the production system is very, very simple. It just produces resources on certain ticks, and it's just producing out of just a general pool that's called well, actually it just produces down to what we call the faction stockpile, which is available units. The long-term idea for this is obviously to have these stockpiles being produced and being something that you can capture by capturing an enemy factory, for example. You will capture some of the enemy's faction stockpile, and it might or might not go into your own production, or you might just get it converted into war funds for the capturing. I think that's where the war funds become important, is that it's an easy way to transfer one thing to another into the game. Just convert it into war funds, and then you can buy something new from it. So that's kind of like the glue that will keep all the different parts together. Right now we just only have one part, which is the resources. So there's nothing, that really isn't anything it can glue together with. As soon as we have, for example, raw materials in the game, you will have something where you have one thing that can turn into war funds that you can spend on something else. I have an image here somewhere that
is it down there, I think.
Yeah, I think it's. I'm just probably gonna get spanked for showing all you guys this. But this is the. It's a very, very simplistic way of
full screen.
Of showing what our goal is with the whole.
Can we see it properly?
Is it okay? I'll zoom in on when I start to talk about it. But it's the what we call the game loops, and what our long-term goals is with the game loops. And you can see right now we start over here. I'll zoom in here. You'll see this is how the action game works. You start up with creating a soldier. You go into the combat. You consume some equipment, and at some point you consume something. You from being in the game, you earn some credits. You rank up, and then down here you repair and upgrade your equipment by using the credits you earned from the game. Obviously, if you're not good enough to earn credits, you can always top up with real money. That's the whole idea about this game. This is very simple, and it's this is the stuff we have running right now. Mm-hmm. Once you've ranked up enough, you can upgrade your character. Or actually, you don't really upgrade it. It's more like it's a transition right now, because we start at rank 12.
It's not a decision, really.
No.
It's like you have the option suddenly to command.
You can upgrade to command, and I'm going to zoom past this because right now we are missing the resource loop completely from the game. in here we have the consummation of army resources, and you earn some war funds, and you rank up, and you refuel assault teams. We have a simple version of this, of the battle loop for the campaign game. We still need the fuels, the war fuels part of it. So that's not implemented yet. But this is like the basic idea of the battle loop for the campaign. You can see up here, campaign game. We have both the operational part and the strategy, where the operational part is also about moving stuff to the right position, and it's about producing the right equipment for the right time, and also there's a lot of complex stuff put into the operational part of war, and obviously strategy as well is super important. It doesn't really have that much of an effect right now because the game is so simple, but this is what we're aiming for. The resource loop, upgrading to commander, you will be able to field a new assault team type. It's not really an assault team, it's more like a unit that you move around on the campaign map to extract raw materials from the ground. That's where it gets super important, that you'll have mines in the mountains, you'll have oil fields, you'll have stuff where certain areas of the map that carries some raw materials that you can use in your war production. So it suddenly becomes a strategic goal to secure certain areas of the map rather than just the capitals. So that's why when we get this stuff in, it's going to be a very, very complex games all of a sudden. That's also why we keep it fairly simple, and we have very few raw materials. We have very few things actually, because each time we add another piece to this,
it's a variable in the puzzle.
The complexity just explodes. What you can see at the basic premise here is that the resource loop, you move your little new resource extractor, I call it, for lack of a better word. I actually started to call it an excavator, but that's like digging up old stuff from the ground. My English is not that good.
It's a bit very trash.
Not good. Okay, you move this little thingy here around on the campaign map, extract some raw materials. They pop up. Right now they're little green hexes, but if you've seen the reinforcement, there's sort of like little diamonds. So this will be in the same idea that you have these raw materials. You gain them from just extracting them. Your extractor obviously ranks up in the same way as an assault team does, and you can upgrade it to extract different types of raw materials. The raw materials, they are put into production. That means that you move them to the factory, and they get consumed by the factory. And if you see here, you consume raw materials, and then, oops, what did you get out of the consummation of your raw materials? You earn war funds. So now you exchange what you do behind enemy lines, or behind your own lines, in your raw material pools. You extract raw materials, and you get paid by the game for doing that.
So that it gives you a reason to have units on your own cities. Yeah,
you can choose to either go to war completely. That'll be expensive for you because you'll probably be starved of war funds constantly, or you can actually do some providing the faction with resources and earning some war funds for that. It's a balance thing.
So we're looking at much larger scope in terms of what the campaigns will look like. They're probably much slower in pace.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's actually like not real time, but
it should be.
That would be funny though.
But as
2 years we spent.
As you'll see down here at the bottom, the production actually produces some army resources. This is tanks and then some fuels. I'm going to talk a little bit about the fuels later, because the fuels is like that is next goal again. But it's just to illustrate that there's different components we can put into the strategy game that makes it that sort of like adds to the complexity. So you see, producing war materials, and obviously producing army resources, and they get consumed over here in the battle loop. So that's the simple thing, and obviously the fuels as well. The fuel is only added for the sake of fuel. Actually, have a lot of people have been talking about, why don't we just add upkeep? It's a general strategy thing that all games have an upkeep, where you just like deduct stuff from having an online like a unit in the game. It just costs to be alive, and the fuels actually are designed to meet that upkeep.
Speaking of which, actually, there is a question. It's not really about the strategy game, but since we showed the combat loop and all that, Chaos Fox is asking, talking about the resource loop. Why are we paying for the default ammo? Why did you decide to change that?
It's because the whole. I can go back to this one. The whole. It's actually if you have if they see that the it's let me. It's to establish the same system for everything. So it's the same thing with the tanks, with the vehicles. You field the Panzer I, and it also gets damaged, and the base ammo also is something that's consumed. But for the basic equipment, it's so cheap that you probably wouldn't notice. We have been running some tests.
It's a tiny amount, isn't it?
Super tiny.
But the other thing
is, it doesn't make any difference from now. And we actually upped the income a bit as well.
You earn more credits.
Yeah, I think our calculations say from the standard player would have to pay something that looks like what in combination with the wear on the weapon and the base ammo would be like between 20 and 30 credits per battle. And we upped the income, so you will earn about 50. So roughly double up in the earnings to compensate for the spending. And the spending of stuff is implemented to facilitate that we can implement that we can put in like very dangerous stuff, like weapons that are very powerful. You can but have limited use because they might break really easily. They might break after 10 shots, and that's it. So they should function more like a power bonus or something in the game. We couldn't do that if everything was permanent. So that's one reason. Another reason is obviously a lot of players or some players have been asking about the captured weapon stuff. Why can't I use the captured? Even I think Brad Pitt has now made it official that American tankers use the Sturmgewehr as well. So, and we would actually like to have captured the enemy equipment and the vehicles in the game somewhere. We just need to make sure that it's super restricted. And when we have this system in place where stuff breaks when it's used, we can actually start to introduce captured equipment that just only lasts for a short period of time. Just to play a little bit with this, we'll take the enemy's equipment and use it against them thing, which I think is super nice. But we have to have these mechanics in place on everything before we can do the other thing. If we started to introduce the captured weapons, that's also why we actually closed down on the captured weapons for the Russians, because the Russian weapons were like, there was no factions until the Soviets are in. So that's why we sort of like discontinued them again, because it's that would be unfair.
I think I should make an announcement that we took the live servers down now for to deploy a hotfix.
Okay.
And that was related to the instability that there was on the servers last night.
Yeah.
So we're basically trying to improve server stability.
You took my beer.
Oh, it was your beer. So you put a beer in front of me. Okay. I accept your offering.
Must drink beer.
But yeah, so I guess we could talk a little bit longer today. Since,
I have another slide I want to show as well, together with all this, just to get. Well, I should probably say that this stuff is something that we are working towards. We cannot say anything about when we're going to add it, but we have to make some stuff on the actual game that will facilitate us adding all these, in my world, nice features to the strategy game. Obviously, I think that strategy and war has a lot to do with resources, the fight for resources and stuff. It's not about who have the biggest gun. It's more like who wants the other guy's resources. I think like most wars in modern, or all wars, except a few ideological wars, have been fought over resources. Resources. Some people are starving. They're looking towards their neighbors. They say, "Why can't you give some of your food?" And they go, "No. You fucked up, and we're gonna keep our food." And they go, "Fuck you!" And then they're going to war. So that's like very simplistic view, but it's still something that drives the war. And that's an element I think is nice to get into the game. I think retouching the subject of the RTS as a genre being more like an action game, I think it would be nice if people start to think of our strategy game to look a little bit more like EVE Online, the way EVE Online works, and not as much as how StarCraft works. So that's sort of like the end goal of the whole thing.
Yesterday you were saying basically that StarCraft is a bit more like playing chess.
No,
but not exactly chess.
Exactly. That was actually a different discussion. That's the thing about that. You have to have you have to have a certain element of unpredictability and randomness in games to make them fun.
Which is kind of what you have in a game where there is an undetermined number of players and you know.
It's why it like poker is a more popular game for money games than chess, for example, because chess is such a static game that it's a brilliant game though. It's nice rules and everything, but it's also a game where, because there's absolutely no randomness, it's purely about who's the smarter guy.
Yeah.
You can never have as soon as one player is just slightly better than the other, he just wins all the time. It's very, very hard to match, to just have a casual fun game of chess. That's just not going to happen, because if you're not good enough, you're just going to get your ass kicked all the time. And it's not that you're going to get smarter and smarter by playing it. It's just you learn that, and then it's just like yes, you just have this. You've learned the game, and this is your level, and that's it. Whereas adding a bit of randomness in a game will make sure that a bad player can actually win over a more advanced player. I think in chess, in order to facilitate skill, in chess they have come up with this rather lame rule of just adding time. So the Kasparov has like 30 seconds in total to move, and you have like a day to make your moves. That's kind of like not balanced. The same with golf, that you have the handicap. Oh, you're better than me, so I just only need 2 points and you need 10. That's not really balancing the game. Whereas a game like backgammon or poker actually puts in the element of randomness. The deck has been shuffled. You can get lucky and get a good hand. In poker, in backgammon, you can make lucky roll of the dice, and that will actually skew the outcome in your favor, even though your opponent is better than you.
So that's why I'm saying in an RTS, it's how fast you click and how good you can remember the sequence of know the technological tree. Like I want to build this factory, unlock this, and then 5 minutes later I have the ultimate weapon and I kill you.
Yeah, that's but also I think about why
in another context like this one is more like I don't know what player is going to play the battle. Yeah. I don't know if they're going to survive the odds, but let's try it. Right?
I think we had the same discussion when we added the fog of war. Before that, I don't think people can remember that, but we actually had the game running without the fog of war, and you can see all the enemies' positions. So you could I'm going to attack over here because they're weak up here. But it's now with the introduction of the fog of war, you have to make a sort of like it's a gamble. Do we think there's somebody here, or don't we? Or are we sending out recons to probe or to see if there's anything there? Are we gonna drop some paratroopers just in the middle of nowhere and see what happens?
So you have to go and check it out.
Yes.
So once you go, you're there.
Yeah.
And then the choice is made.
Or somebody might just take a wild gamble and say we're just gonna amass a huge amount of tanks down here, and we're gonna move here, and we just hope that there's not a lot of resistance. We're just going to plow through here, and they might face a huge resistance, or they might actually, we actually hit a weak spot. Let's continue, and that's kind of like games have to have, especially war games, have to have a certain element of unpredictability and randomness. I think the most used quote on General's quote is this, where you have a battle plan until the war starts, and then everything changes. That's kind of true for these things.
What was the exact quote? I forgot. It's something like that, but I think it's even more sarcastic.
Yeah. Okay. What should
something I think even the best battle plan is you can throw it out the window after half an hour.
Yeah,
something like that. If you've planned it for.
Same goes for game developer again. Game development, I can say. Well, moving targets are never fun to try and nail. I have another picture I could show for this resource thingy that I've started. I hope it's not going to give too much trouble on the on the forums. This is obviously future stuff, but it's just to show a little bit about what we're talking about. I think this is the basic. It's very, very simplistically, because this is something that I took out from a presentation for our board of directors. But basically, you can see the resource management have 3 stages. It's actually built very roughly on a well-known economic model, where that's based on primary, secondary, tertiary economies,
sectors.
Economies for a country that only supports the primary can only produce raw materials, for example, and then you move into the fact where you can start to use the materials. You can produce things out of your raw materials, and the third one, which is
a
like,
service economy,
the
right?
service.
So
Yes.
here the war is the service.
Yeah, just change the service is the war.
Thank you.
But you'll see here, you have all the battlefields that we know from the campaign map. That's a location. Each location provides one or more types of raw materials, and you extract those raw materials. I could say that if you zoom down here, you have the mine. We haven't made any mine maps yet, but the mine would produce iron and coal, just to take some. Or you could take the village. The village produces men and grain, and the oil field produces oil. That's all 5 different types of raw materials. You move those raw materials into a factory, or in the case of grain and oil, they have to move to a refinery. It's a bit strange to call a bakery a refinery, right? If you want to make bread, but okay, it's turning some raw material into something that can be used. There's generally 2 categories of production. There's the army resources, which is the men and the tanks and the planes that are produced, and then there's the fuels, the war fuels, which is obviously like a gasoline for the vehicles, or food for the soldiers. That's the 2 types of fuel that I've been working with so far. And those resources that you produce are consumed by the war, or obviously stockpiled somewhere. That's where the interesting thing comes in, that to make a huge advance, you would need fuel, for example. So you have to stockpile a lot of fuel before you start the attack. But the more you stock of the fuels or the resources, the more you run the risk of getting it taken by the enemy or bombed or something like that. So that's the purpose by having this separation. That it's not all about the assault teams. It's actually the resources that are really important. You can see down here I've made a very simplistic way of showing how the different here you have the raw materials. They're extracted from certain battlefields, and you have to move them to another type of battlefield that turns them into something that can be used, either the army resources or the war fuels down here. So the factory makes vehicles, barracks makes soldiers, and all this stuff is consumed by the assault teams. So that's the basic idea of introducing this stuff.
So I guess we could kind of slowly crawl back to the T-build.
Did I drift too much in a strange direction?
That's fine. That was kind of we kind of had to go there to explain what's going on with the strategy game right now.
Yeah.
But this being said, I guess we could start taking some questions.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if people have. I mean, there's been already a few questions about what's going on in the T-build. I guess
we need more women resources.
Yeah, that's a nice pickup line there, but what?
That's funny.
So go ahead, questions. We're listening. This is Dr. Fraser Crane. I'm listening.
And I'm Niles, or what? No way.
Oh, yeah, no, I can't be Niles. I want to be Niles. So let's see. Oh yeah, I think that's a good one. I don't know if you can give an answer to it that will kind of make everybody understand. The battle timer, where the preparation phase, where there's like in the campaign map, suddenly there's now 10 minutes before the battle can actually start.
I have to say
that?
Yeah, the 10 minutes is an arbitrary starting point from a delay.
Sorry, there's a question from Battle B.
Battle B? Hello, Battle B. Battle B. Is that a...
It's nothing to do with bees.
No.
I think it's...
the timer has been put in to facilitate the possibility of three-way battles in the campaign map. If we ran the old system where it just instantly started, then there wouldn't be enough time to actually get into the war with three factions. And we actually want these three faction wars. Obviously, it's up to discussion if 10 minutes is too long. It's also up to discussion if we should only do it for battlefields that are surrounded by three factions, where it's even possible. So this is probably something that we need to tweak further. But the reason it's in is because of the three-way battles.
Actually, we might want to.
I know it actually removes. I had a chat this morning with some guys in the chat, and it sort of like ruins some of the tactics that they were used to do before. Sort of like the blitzkrieg stuff where they just rush and stuff, because now they're delayed and it gets. So obviously, if it ruins one of those used tactics, then we need to find a way to actually.
Kind of tweak it.
So it's still possible to run those tactics.
So you're saying like right now it's you start a battle, but everybody gets invitations and they have time to get dressed for the battle. And then ding dong. Yeah, it is.
But you also have the other rule that's in this with the three ways, is that we have it's not illustrated anywhere, but we internally call it the bleeding. And the bleeding is when if you try to move an assault team to a battlefield that's already contested by two other factions that are in war, then your assault team will actually just stop and wait until they're done. Military term is actually bleeding, and it's a term where you would never ever, unless you're crazy, enter a battle that was being fought between two other factions until they're done, because you'd like them to lose some strength before you enter the battle. So everybody would naturally do that. I think the best example we have of bleeding in the Second World War is actually, and I'm going to piss off a lot of Americans, but the Roosevelt's tactic of waiting to get into the war. That was a good example of bleeding. Wait till you're sure that you can actually just win the war and save your resources for later. People
could argue the Red Army kind of waited outside of Warsaw until the Germans.
That's one of the terrible examples as well of bleeding. But it's a very common known tactic to use.
So I get more questions pouring in now. I'm just going to try and trying to put it in a little document here. So. On the Bubble is asking, is the fog still out there, the fog of war? I haven't seen it since the update. I think it's probably because it's...
Is the fog of war still up there?
It's because it's behind the cities,
that
I think.
Hasn't been changed yet. We are making a...
Didn't you? I think you did. You put it behind the roads so that you can see
that's true.
So that's probably why it's more subtle now.
It's more subtle, yeah. We moved it And we to answer a lot of the questions... our hard-working UI programmers have already made the changes to the capitals that will be more visible. It's not good that they're almost hidden right now, so they have some good fixes for that. I don't know when it's going to hit the live service though, but yes, we noticed that the capitals were almost invisible when you zoom out on the map.
I guess next one would be from Swamork. Swamork is saying. I'm from the TAW clan. We like the Soviet and what you did, but we're wondering, will you and what? Will you and what will you add in the near future for clans? For example, we like to play with or against each other, but it's very hard right now to get more than 6 people on the same game. Actually, there's I wanted to talk about that. The 10-minute timer in the campaign game. I mean, if you can wait 10 minutes, if you join manually from the campaign map, there's 2 minutes where you can only join manually on the campaign map. That's a kind of before the matchmaker starts to put people in.
Okay.
So if you see that the battle starts, it's a good thing to know if the clan players usually use that.
I haven't had any trouble joining my own battles. Because I just sit and wait and press the button when it comes on. So,
but if you want to play against or with each other, you basically give yourself a kind of an appointment somewhere on a battle, and then you can queue for the friends mission. If, for example, there's there's no longer a join button, but a queue button, you can always queue there, and you'll be first before the guys in matchmaking. Yeah. So that's one way to join a battle when you're. But then again, I think you've been talking extensively last time 3 weeks ago about the clan support. Well,
it has to do with all the resource pooling as well. The concept of resource pooling actually is made also to facilitate our up and coming squad system that should make sure that people can actually play together. And it should also have an effect of generals requesting a certain squad to play with their assault teams and stuff like that. So. We are definitely looking into all this.
So let me see if we got a new question. Yeah, Phil K90 is asking, with the new bombs away combat badge, will the Messerschmitt bomb do more damage or have a faster reload speed compared to the US? As it is right now, this system punishes the German pilots pretty hard.
It's actually funny he should say that, but this relates to the bombs though.
But the way it is now is like you got faster reload instead of more bombs.
I think so, yeah. I must admit that I'm not totally into the actual numbers on this part, so that's one for Ray to Oxon to answer. Actually, we looked at that's on a slightly different note, but we looked at some of the numbers for the German pilots. We were looking at how fast each character progresses in the different ribbons, and for some strange reason it turned out that the German pilots just progressed twice as fast as the American ones. And then we got into this huge talk about it seems like everybody, when they join in with an American plane, they are instantly just chased by 4 Messerschmitts. So it seems like there's something there where the German pilots they're just better. Or more of them, or something like that. It's very noticeable. There's a noticeable difference, and I can assure that the planes are very, very equal in their. We can see they're very equal in the way they're constructed.
Speaking of,
even though the Lightning has like 4 heavy machine guns and a cannon, the 4 heavy machine guns shoot slowly enough to compensate. Usually, you would just. It's 4 machine guns. It should shoot 4 times as fast as one machine gun, but it doesn't really.
I was going to say about the combat badge. I guess it's a good time to kind of plug the wiki.
Oh yeah.
If you can just show the wiki. I mean, that's. Well, you're in the browser already, aren't you?
Yeah. I just wanted to show some of these graphs as well. These nice graphs, but now I'm going to hide them from people.
Yeah. Because you're mean.
Mean me. Dutch. Here we go. Here's the wiki.
So, in the wiki, there is, I think, the combat badge. I don't know if it's been updated. But if it's not, then most definitely that would be a good idea if somebody would go there and update the information.
I can never find
you had it right there.
Yeah, no, but you just need to.
There it is.
There it is. Let's see if it actually, because I actually think that the Soviet stuff haven't been updated yet.
No.
So
that's
weapons
also something that could be updated.
Yeah.
If you go to the Bombs Away badge, I don't know if it's still the old description that's there. There it is, Bombs Away. Yeah, so that's no longer current.
Yeah.
So the way the wiki works is that we don't put information in there. It's the players who keep it up to date. I mean, we sometimes will go and rectify things if but you're welcome to go in there. And from time to time, we have promotional events. We had one where we rewarded the people who did the most edits. In a particular month, we might do it again. So it's always a good thing to hang out.
We should actually consider running one of those.
Because I mean, there's a lot of stuff that could use some.
There's a whole new faction. There's a whole new thing about tactics and the strategy and stuff like that.
So the wiki is at basically it's hosted by Gamepedia, but it's you can reach it at wiki.heroesandgenerals.com. Otherwise, we have a question from. Oh, wait. Robotron is saying something. Robotron is typing slowly.
Slowbotron.
Slowbotron. Oh yeah. So there just might be another another promotional thing.
All right.
On the horizon.
Awesome.
With the wiki, so keep your eyes peeled. This being said, there was a question from Sorin Stahlheim, I guess. Will we ever be able to switch the infantry helmet on the Russian soldier with pilotka on the Soviet soldier? Sorry.
Oh yes, I would love that as well.
The pilotka would be the one that Recon is wearing.
Yeah, and it's the one that
the beret kind of.
Aulider's new image is the one he's wearing in there. It's nice. So yes, we are looking into
more cosmetics
stuff, but it's everything has a priority here.
I just saw an article on Kotaku that was about it's a guy who used to be a game reviewer, and then he started being a developer, and he said, "Oh my God, I had no idea how hard it is to make a game." And he was saying, "Oh my God, it's 1,000 times more complicated than you think." And he was explaining that before you make a basically like, if you add a character to the game, at first you make it like a high polygon model that looks awesome, and then you have to make the low polygon version to animate.
I think that's actually one of the things that
we would like to show that. Right?
Yeah, we should.
If we can drag the guy in.
The character artists are not really keen on speaking on cam, so
they're very camera shy. The animators and.
But actually, that's a fun thing, because that had. I don't know if you noticed in the games press here the last few weeks. There's been a huge flame on one of the oldest game designers, and a guy named Peter Molyneux. Who started the Bullfrog studio and all.
I love this game.
Tons of cool games, and he's tried his hand with some of these with the Kickstarter campaign to raise money for a game. And usually, what happens when you make AAA games is obviously you just pile stuff. You sell the dream of the game to, if it's a publisher or wherever it is, and that's what he's been doing for ages, selling his dream of the perfect game that he's going to create. And obviously the end result is somewhat different than he's well known for overpromising. But again that's kind of like the whole thing of the marketing of AAA games is overpromising, backing it up with nice graphics, and that's it. And now suddenly he's in this the Kickstarter community where a lot of players back something and they think they're going to get the exact same thing that you're proposing, and they just get super annoyed that it's not the same thing, or it's different in some way, and it really got burned on that one. So that's interesting in the same concept of it is really hard to make a computer game. It's not as easy as I'm just gonna build a character. No, it has to be animated and controlled by code, and there's like tons of stuff that the players really don't see that goes behind it. So, and it's easy to get an idea. It's really hard to put it in the game.
So we drifted again.
That's fine. I think
that's fine. Yeah, we're making a little extra.
That's cool.
Extra time
just
today.
Have some more questions. That's fine. Do we show any of these? No.
Let me.
I have nothing clever to say about the graphs, other than.
So let's go back to I guess the.
Monitoring the whole progress.
Actually, if you maybe we could talk a bit about the new weapons that are on the Soviet faction. Because I think we covered them very quickly when we were trying to show everything.
Sure. But shouldn't we just pick some more questions?
Yeah. Well, but while we're doing
like
that, so that I mean, I'm sure people love looking at our faces, but we're just talking heads unless we have a.
Oh, do you want to show?
Just show the in-game menu for. It could be on.
But we are rebooting the servers right now.
Oh yeah, but on test.
The super fast computer just froze.
But awesome. This computer is like mind bending.
Oh, I can't do that right now because I have tests just right there. Questions, fire away.
I'm still looking at.
Maybe I should promise something for Henrik for Vashu to answer next time. I can't answer that, and then I'm gonna pass it on to him.
Oh wait, thanks, Blixen. He's just reminding me that there's 1,000 questions.
All right.
There's 1,000 questions.
Actually, I hope that actually the Warfront talk sort of like cleared something up with the Curie, that it's not a one-way street where you just have bigger units and they earn more money, because then everybody would just always drive in field the heavy armor. So it's a balance thing.
Well, okay, so we have questions. We have the classic questions about bipods and AA. But I'm going to try and find something that...
find something new today,
something
please.
new and scanning intensely. This sniper rifle for infantry.
Yes.
Well, people call it a sniper. It's a scoped rifle, really. Is there any plan to re-enable the scoped rifles on infantry, or at the very least... wait, that makes a very strange...
Equip it by a basic infantry.
So, is there a plan to...
Actually, I must say that
the players epilepsy. I have to name the guys.
I must say the whole idea of adding a scoped rifle to the infantry was one of my ideas, and I must admit that it has not really worked out the way that I thought it would work out. So it just caused so many problems with people complaining that all the infantry will have too many scoped rifles, and it was meant to be like a little extra thing for the infantry guys to actually work towards, but it seems like everybody's just doing it, and it's sort of like it takes too much away from the recon role of the game. So we are outphasing the current scoped rifle for the infantry, but we've done it we're going to do it in steps. And first of all, we have just disabled the possibility for new players to unlock and buy the scoped rifle. The ones that already have it, they can still keep using it, and that's going to be the way it's going to be for a while. The next step that we are looking into is actually, I don't know if people have noticed that with the new upgrade system, there's no sights upgrades for the sniper rifles, because it doesn't really make sense to put an iron sight on a scoped rifle. Upgrade that, so we removed that one, and the idea of removing that is to actually make room for interchangeable scopes for the rifles.
So that eventually...
Physical changing of scopes, that just requires a bit more work to do that, but it seems like it's something that a lot of players really want. And what we are going to do is obviously introduce some more scopes, and some scopes that are worse than the one we have right now, and we are going to add those. There's different ways we can do it, but the lower tier scopes will be available for infantry who have either upgraded their bolt action rifles. So we're going to put that in as an upgrade for the bolt action rifles, or we've also discussed a lot about enabling those scopes to be able to scope your semi-auto rifle. So you have a scoped Garand, for example, but just with the lower zoom versions of the scopes. So that's kind of like one of the reasons for we start to switch off, so we don't get any more players that will probably get annoyed that we change this stuff somewhere in the future. But so far, it's only to stop there from being more infantry guys with scoped rifles.
In some scenarios, it gets a little bit, ridiculous. The amount of guys are. I'm going to be the sniper.
We can see that it's sniper stuff. It's super popular.
It's popular, but I mean, for some players, it's extremely irritating. Many people choose that strategy.
Exactly.
I guess there's.
That's also what I'm saying. I'm sorry, it was my idea, and it didn't really work out. So it's just like, okay, revert, go back. That wasn't a good idea.
But anyway, right now there's no in the new spawn mechanics. There's really no hard cap on how many guys can be recon, right?
Exactly.
So you can just be recon and join.
That's something we need to look into as well. That we limit the amount of recons. But I think it's also because we have we would probably have to control that a little bit more with the resources. Turn down the resources, because then they will actually just die out in the campaign game. We did actually discuss with the squad system that the individual slots can be upgraded to use different classes. So you can have an infantry squad where one slot can be manned by a recon as well. So you can slightly mix the different roles on different squads. Because it's something that it's I think it's good to slightly blur the borders between the different classes and setups, but not make a totally 100% configurable setup, because then people will just start to max min into the whole thing. We need people to be able to. We need to force some players to make some hard choices somewhere along the way.
Let me see. Actually, that could be a nice one to answer. Travis Green 29 is asking, why did you remove the squad captain function from the early beta when you brought it to Steam? Actually, we didn't.
No, it's still there.
But he's saying that now we have to buy the binoculars in order to give orders.
Actually, it's a fun thing. It's we haven't quite reached that part yet, but we actually designed the whole thing to be all the equipment is something that you have to equip. I thought there was a good trade-off to actually make the binocular an item that you actually equip, and we are going to do the same thing with the paratroopers parachutes. So we've been discussing that, doing a little bit with this with the freefall badges and stuff like that, and turning them into different parachutes instead. That would probably also remove the much hated parachute on the back of paratroopers who have already landed. So, and that would make much more sense in the fact that why do paratroopers have less equipment points? Yeah, it's because they have a parachute on the back as well, so they actually have less than so.
There's a question from Odblask90 saying, will captured weapons come back?
Didn't I just answer that?
Not really. Captured weapons? You did before. Yes, you did. Just rewind. But you did. You said that eventually, they will come back in.
The whole purpose of consumable ammunition and weapons is that the wear stuff is because we would like to expand on the whole captured weapon system, but we need some very hard ways to restrict it as well. So it captured MG42 might be worn down all the way to 20%, and you cannot repair it. So it's going to be like a special thing for you to use, and it's going to be only offered in limited numbers and stuff like that. So we are preparing to go in that direction. Also, captured vehicles. It's been seen all over the war that you once you captured the enemy's equipment, obviously if it worked, then use it against them. That's why the tankers always blew up their tanks, and the Navy scuttled the ships, is because obviously if you have captured the enemy's cannons, why not use it against them?
There's a question from Zekla. Would it be possible to add some blood stains when you hit an enemy on the body or ground or adjacent walls?
That's for the render guys to answer.
Yeah, that's true, right? That's right. But
we should bring up some of the render guys on one of these sessions.
Who are also extremely camera shy. That's.
Can we? We have to come up with some
military service.
Disguise. Buy a burqa for them. They can sit here and like totally cover this school. Come on, it's just a camera, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Look, it's right there.
Yeah, but the internet is hiding behind the camera.
Yeah. That's good.
The internet is a dark place. There is a question from Toad1998. Could you add a tank repair ribbon which would unlock a badge which accelerates tank repairs? He's got it all figured out. It's not really a question, is it? It's an order.
Why doesn't it this? Oh, it's actually working. Check this out. I could don't show on the screen, but I'm just going to show this to Fred, so people don't see all our secret sauce here. Combat badge. Design document. Here we go. Oh, not this one. Not this one. Woo. That would be nice. Fatal issues. Check this out. What is this long list of not made badges yet? There is the.
That's not a real thing.
No.
Oh, that's okay. So there's a So he's got ideas for combat badges.
Here you go.
Holy crap! Can I say he called it?
This is a document that where we collect all the different ideas of combat badges and sort of like discuss them a little bit before we send them on. We are working on some new combat badges though, but those are for the strategy game, for the generals. Some of them can be unlocked on purely by generals, and some of them actually have to be unlocked by the character while he's still able to play the action game, which should add some more value to the guys who actually convert their commanders to generals, or choose to participate in the strategy game with their field or company officers. So,
gradually getting down the list here. That's a good one. Hillholm is asking, can we get a movement to go from prone to crouch and crouch to prone instead of having to stand up?
I have no idea.
It's a matter of making keys that make sense, right? Also,
yeah, it's probably key binding. Pass that on to Oxan and see if he has an opinion about that stuff.
But he's watching, so he probably he heard you. The question is, is it feasible without introducing a whole nightmare of
config
keys and stuff like that? I guess. Let me see. People are asking about new factions and new continents.
More factions.
More
Come
factions.
on,
more
just
continents.
added a huge faction.
The Russians.
I think what people would be screaming about now is new maps.
But new maps. Actually, we did kind of hint at the fact that we're working on one.
Obviously, it would be really strange of us to say no new maps. Obviously, we are going to add new maps. We just need to make them first.
And I think I'm gonna take a few more questions and then we're gonna wrap it up.
All right.
Let's see, because people are asking about Africa Corps and all that. I must say it would be a completely different feel if we had desert maps.
Yes.
That's you can always I guess think about that before you go to sleep. And of course,
what about the New York City map?
Yeah, that one would be most definitely. Now it's all about new maps.
But then we actually need to get the Navy in first, so we can sail to the American continent. All long range bombers.
Yes.
Long range bombers.
Yes, we're drifting so far now. Yeah, and now they're talking about the Japanese faction. Okay. Oh yeah, that. Yeah.
I am Peter Molyneux. I learn from the best.
Yeah.
Actually, I think he got a little bit too rough flag, and that one is like, come on, he's been doing this stuff for everybody's been doing this for 20
awesome
years.
Games. I mean,
yeah, but also like overselling your product.
Yes.
Stuff. That's been happening since forever, and now suddenly because he's this Kickstarter stuff, he just gets completely flamed.
I'm still looking at. No, because we're kind of starting to have redundant questions. Ah, man. I'm sorry. Joe G33, who's bored. I'm sorry, I'm reading through your questions. I'm trying to find a question that we haven't kind of, answered already.
Repeating questions? Come on, guys, you can do better.
Yeah.
And it's probably also because the server's down.
Yeah, that's why I figured I'd take the time to grab a few more. But African Dave is asking, can we get vehicle spawning for the same class only? As in, he doesn't want spawning on, because right now you can spawn. Anybody who's on foot can spawn on a Jeep or an APC. If I'm not mistaken.
I don't get the question. So he doesn't want.
He doesn't want recons on his Jeep. I don't know. Maybe you could specify.
Yeah.
But that's not a very interesting question. I guess we're gonna gradually wrap it up. Let's just remind people of the screenshot contest that's going on Steam. If you can show the page where this is happening. So we have sorry, I just got distracted here by a message from Robotron. So we showed the winners last time. There's every month there's this screenshot contest on Steam.
Actually, didn't see it last time. I saw actually the previous time. The time it was. I
you didn't see these guys?
No, but the show. I actually watched it. You and Vashu from Tromsø in Norway.
Yeah, you did. That's true. You did see that.
I was actually going there to look for the German battleship Tirpitz, but they removed it. What the fuck? Can't go anywhere without having some sort of like a World War II reference to it.
You really went to see
No, they removed it, but that's actually Tromsø in the waters around Tromsø was where the German battleship Tirpitz, which is like the equivalent of the Bismarck, was just anchored up there. Or they moved it just around slightly in that area to make what you would call the what's it called?
Blockade.
It's not really a blockade, but it's when you move a powerful ship like this in a certain area, you will force the enemy to actually have to move some of their battleships there as well. So you actually just take stuff out of their force, and you don't have to do anything. You can just have it situated there. I think the Royal Air Force tried 4 or 5 times to actually sink it, and then obviously they succeeded in the last run.
So then they fished it out and they
just moved after the war.
Okay, but it wasn't there. I wanted to actually just talk about one last thing before we wrap it up. There's been a lot of talk about the sway on sniper rifles, on scoped rifles. People are asking like, what's up with the sway? Can you remove it? Actually, it's because it was supposed to be there.
Yeah,
right?
I think we had this bug that it's a few builds old now, where we unfortunately had a different number on when we ran the game internally than it was on live. So the bug was only visible on live, which subdued the sway a lot and the recoil, I think. And that got fixed. So now it actually has some of the more real values. But I think Robotron also answered that it's like you should use a sniper rifle either sitting or in prone. That will help a lot. So It's not meant to be standing and sniping.
No, exactly. You're not meant to just like run around and go like.
Yeah.
It's so it's supposed to be that way. That's the answer.
Yeah.
And I mean that's probably one of the other reasons why I mean it's not intended for everybody to walk around with a scope.
Yes, exactly.
It's also because you need to kind of crouch or lie down to really use it properly. So yeah. So this being said, I guess we're going to call it a day for now. We will be uploading this to YouTube later on. For those who just joined us, we talked a lot about the war economy today. We talked also, I mean, originally we meant to talk about the T-build. We talked a little bit about our server issues and our new servers. We got new action servers.
We discussed what we have been doing to sort of like kickstart the Soviet faction a bit.
Yeah.
So
I guess you can rewatch the whole thing on Twitch later on or on YouTube, and remember to follow us on Facebook.
Yeah.
So this being said, we will wish you a very
keep playing the game.
Nice weekend.
We hope to get a lot of feedback on the. Obviously, we are going to do a lot of tweaks on the Soviet faction because it's a huge change for the game, and it's not perfect yet. So. But we'll only see the box if you guys keep playing it, obviously. And we're happy for you doing that.
So, thank you, and see you next week.
Yeah. Bye-bye.